All right, going live. Hi, everybody. It's Kanesha from boldlivingtoday.com. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another session of Wednesday Club, which is our Wednesday weekly broadcast where we focus on the items of the club, C for creativity, L for learning from and successfully navigating life's transitions, U, untangling from things and thoughts that keep us small, and the B, building and amplifying our boldness. So I have a great guest today. Her name is Amy, and I'm going to bring her on here shortly. I wanted to answer a couple of questions before we get started. So yesterday, while I was cooking dinner, I did a quick live, and I was just showing some of the journals, notebooks, and planners that I had on hand that I typically show workshop participants when I do my Hack Your Planner workshop. And I have that workshop coming up this Saturday, and then I have another one coming up on the 10th. And so somebody asked me, Kanesha, you have a lot of different journals, and you mentioned that you have your planner and project planners. How many planners do you have? So one of the things we're going to talk about during the workshop is picking the right planner for what you plan to do. Calendaring, I do calendaring electronically on my phone because I have a family and I have things color-coded, and I'm kind of the hub of the information, even though we have a big calendar hanging in the kitchen. And so I use that for like all the different scheduling and things like that. I use a paper planner primarily for my work and business. So it's my space, my hub, focusing on the things that I'm only doing for myself. And then I like to use sticky notes to move some of the family stuff around if I just need to have it top of mind while I'm doing my own planning in my paper planner. So I would not ever be able to use just a paper planner for planning my life as a wife and mom because things are moving around. It's complicated. We got a different time zone with my daughter being on the East Coast. So yeah, there's different ways to use planners. So I don't want people to feel like you have to get one paper planner and you can use it for everything. That's not always the case. But a lot of people who come to the workshop are creatives, or they're students, or they're big dreamers and things like that. And I think it's really important to have a space to plan those things so that you can think about what you want to do, dream about it, brainstorm it, and then execute, put it into action. And that's where the planning part and having that structure, having the accountability and checks and balances comes in. So great question, and thank you for people who are registering. We're gonna have a really good time on Saturday, super casual, so you can be in your pajamas if you want, but we're gonna create and make things. Okay, so I'm gonna bring our guest on today. We have Ammy Pearson coming on today. I'll let her introduce herself, but I'm super excited to talk about approval addiction and other things. So let's get Amy on here. So I hope everybody's having good questions, feeling good on a Wednesday. Welcome back if you've been here before. Welcome if you're new. Amy!
I'm a little tipped over.
You look good. You guys, you have to give Amy some hearts because this is her very first Instagram live.
Kanesha, I've been so nervous.
Really? You're like professional.
Well, I've got this tripod. I was like, should I try this tripod out? But then it was like not framing my face well. But I'm just really happy to be here. I'm happy that I got on without a hitch. This is easier than I thought it would be. And I needed to figure out how to do this. Instagram is definitely an area for growth for me.
Yeah. I like, this is the thing about Instagram for me, and I think you and I think a lot about, like, we want to be out and meeting people and talking to them, but I don't want to get all the technology. I don't want to get all at that level, and I just find it so much more streamlined and easier for me just to get on, boop, click, and here we go.
This is fun. This is great.
Yeah, and plus I think also, we're just acting like no one else is here on with us, but I think with what you're doing with and we'll talk about your failure summit and all that stuff, but those kinds of interviews, I think you can use some computer platform where you can be broadcasting on IG Live and Facebook, which I know you do a lot of Facebook Live. So, but you have to let your assistant figure that part out for you.
Well, I mean, the nice thing is I like to experiment. And so,
Yes.
and again, like the Failure Summit really helped me because a lot of it is, right? That's part of being an entrepreneur, is being open to experimentation and potential failure.
Exactly. And I think the other piece too, I mean, I've been on Instagram Live before and I'm supposed to be pinning comments or I'm supposed to be doing
Yeah.
stuff. And I just ask people for help. I'm like, can somebody else just put that in the comment box for me?
Yeah.
Like, we're together. We're learning together. This is supposed to be togetherness. And yeah. So
Amen.
so I'm so glad you were willing to get on this different platform. And yeah, you did great. It was perfect.
It worked.
So already succeeded. So, okay. So I'm going to have you introduce yourself and tell us who you are. And then we're going to play our game and then we're going to discuss.
Okay.
So tell us about Amy. Who's Amy?
Well, so I am an entrepreneur, a life coach, a mom of 3, married 20, I think it's 27 years now. I was a child bride. And what else? I have lots of animals, and I have a garden, but my business is being over at Being Amy the blog. I've actually been a coach for, it's been 11 years now. I'm also a trainer. I train coaches through Martha Beck. And, my work in the world really is, I like to think of myself, actually, I've been called a courage infuser. And my passion and I think my work in the world is really talking openly about shit that people don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
So that I can inspire others, right? I really feel like if I can be open and out there about what I like to call vulnerability bloopers, and then that makes other people feel like they have the space to be able to do that. And the more that we can drop the shame and start to have real, honest conversations without blame, without, beating the crap out of ourselves in our head, I think that, will make a huge difference in this world. I think we'll live in a much better world if we do that. So that's really, really what my real purpose and mission in life is.
I love it. I feel like the freedom to fail openly and not make it mean more than like this just didn't work.
Yeah,
is so important. And we're going to talk about that. And I hope people have questions or comments. This is a safe space, everybody. So before we get all serious and we learn, we're going to play a game. Okay, so we're going to play Would You Rather, and I'm going to give you 2 things, and you can say, would you want one of those?
I love this game.
I love this game too.
My kids love this game too.
And if, you don't want anything unless we are allowed in the bold land to go rogue, because that's what we do. Okay, so here's the first one.
Okay.
Would you rather eat or, drink a liquid smoothie or have a smoothie bowl? Apparently, there are 2 camps I'm learning.
So the smoothie bowls, are those like what is that? Acai?
Yeah, acai with the fruit. It's all pretty on top of it, granola and all that good stuff.
You know what? I would rather I have a smoothie right here. But the real truth about it is I would much rather have a smoothie bowl where, I've got all the pretty, and it's like something solid, right? Bowl. But it's like smoothies so much faster. You just put it in the mixer and you drop it in and you're good to go. So yeah, smoothie bowl all the way. How about you? I'm curious.
Yeah, well, because my 21-year-old was home for a bit and she's back in New York, and I'm all about the smoothie because it's the efficiency. Like, let me just put that in the blender, get it going. I want to make sure I'm eating the rainbow and, do all that. But she's like, Mom, art student, Mom, we are supposed to like visually indulge in our food, and when you have the bowl, and I was like, are you coordinating the family every morning? Are you doing all that? Come on, girl. So when she was here, she promised to make me bowls, and she made some beautiful, beautiful bowls. Now, since she's been gone, have I made a bowl? Absolutely not.
I bet. I've seen her. She's got it going. She's so stylish, and yeah. No, I hear you. I'm on the same page. If I had a chef, and that's in my future, I'm definitely going to do the smoothie bowl route.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna put that on the aspirational list. Like, if I got somebody in here who's doing like that, yes, bring me all the bowls.
Hashtag goals, right?
Hashtag goals. Yes, I know. People are laughing at us, but these are real important things.
Yeah, think big.
Okay, here's the next one. Would you rather stroll the beach or go forest bathing?
Oh, that is easy. I'm forest all the way. And it's not sexy, I know, because everybody's like, what's that expression? Like it's the salt and the that makes you, and the beach and the ocean that makes you, that's healing and everything. And I want to be that person, right? But I'm just a land animal. I just like, I'm a land animal. I like to be in the forest, and I like to, I like to smell the trees, and I'd rather smell the trees than smell the ocean. Now, I love the ocean, but it's forest all the way for me.
Yeah, so I'm a Great Lakes person, even though now we're on the coast. And so it is different being a Great Lake versus, the ocean. And so I was doing this workshop in December. I was thinking, it seems so long ago because, we were out and free. But last December, we were having a brunch. Me and my friend hosted this brunch for a group of Black women. And it was about, nourishing, getting ready for 2020.
Yeah.
And we were doing collages, and I wanted to do people do collage, not necessarily a vision board, but like a collage of how you want to feel going to all that. So I had my example, and I had forest bathing, and they were like, "What the hell is that?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And I'm like going on, and I just
you gotta get on that. I'm loving these comments.
It. Right? it is. I love it because I love the smell of the trees myself. And I feel like when I go stroll the beach or go to the beach, I have to prepare. Whereas if I'm going forest bathing, I just show up.
So true. Okay, don't even get me started about the sand and having kids. Okay, we're not even going to go there.
My minivan trashed. Okay, so forest bathing all the way. Okay, so here is the last one.
Okay.
If you were giving a talk, to a group of people, and you can think of whoever the audience would be, would you rather have the strap on your dress break in the middle of your presentation?
Okay.
Or would you rather have tech issues?
Gosh. So when we say strap on the dress, what are we talking about here? Like what, like the like if it's here and it just kind of
it's
oh my gosh. Well, that's a hard one. I think actually I might prefer the strap just because I could totally parlay that into something really funny. And I could get some people on stage to help me fix the strap, and we could create a whole like sideshow kind of comedic intermission with the strap. So I think I'm going with the strap breaking.
You are so professional.
Well, and it's like the technology stuff, it just throws me for a loop, it's like I just it's hard for me to sort it out, but I could totally turn a strap breaking into something really funny.
So, real talk, I was doing the presentation there's like this women's Silicon Valley real estate group, and I was doing a presentation for their board. So it was like 10 women. And we were doing goal setting and things like that. And of course, I had all my materials so we can make stuff. You're not going to leave my workshop without making something. And I had this long, beautiful dress on, and I bent down to get something, and I stepped on the dress. And so when I stood up, the strap was like,
oh. So what happened?
So luckily the other strap was there because it was like what is that? Not Empire. What is that called? Like halter style or something. Whatever that is. I need Bella for this. It brought, and I was thinking, sweet baby Jesus, please, one strap hold. And it was a hot day, and that was the day I decided not to wear a bra because the dress didn't like.
Of course.
I was like, oh God.
Of course.
So I always use that as an example as like we kept going. I like tucked that thing in, and then how you have like the mini sewing kits in your purse? I carried one. It had a safety pin in there, so I kind of just was like,
wow. I mean, I've never actually had it happen. So, easier said than done, but props to you. It sounds like
I always like to tell stories just like that because people are like, oh, Kanesha, you're just like so poised and together and stuff like that. I was like, let me tell you about my togetherness. Let me show you. Let me demonstrate.
Yeah.
And I always say, I started my career as a high school teacher, and if I survive them, everything else is a cakewalk.
Exactly.
Because they will tell you, I love them, so it's not like surviving because they were bad, but if anything is off, they don't let you off the hook of anything.
They tell you. Yeah, I mean, I think it's nice too to be able to just, a lot of the women that I work with are super risk averse. And so, of course, there's the mind going, what is the worst case scenario that could possibly happen? And it's already playing out there. And it really creates a lot of resistance to moving forward. And so, that's one of the things, I think one of the ways that I help is really just demonstrating imperfection. So it takes all the pressure off of me and my work because, if I'm demonstrating imperfection, it's helping my people. And, then I have lots of leeway for straps breaking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I have to tell you another story like offline because it would be too long in the interview about when I was nursing and I was working and my breast pad fell out in a presentation.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Babies get nursed, presentations get had, you teach people about nursing pads. It's all good.
I love that because, I've been thinking a lot about this idea of creating, and co-creation is getting thrown around a lot this term. And I've been thinking about that and sort of like, what kind of world do we want to exist in? And, so often we're, like I said, risk averse, we're playing out worst case scenarios. And I think, especially in the workplace, typically pretty male dominated, or at least that mentality, right? And, if we can be in a place like that and have something like a nursing pad fall out, or, something where that's our experience as women, right? Yeah. And we can deal with that and address that and normalize that, right? Then we're co-creating this world where, that kind of thing happens, and that's not unprofessional, or that's not, whatever. It's not something that's judged. And as participants in creating that, we just have to be willing to, figure it out and be imperfect and just, be out there. Whoops, my screen just got blurred. Anyway.
Yeah.
Thinking out loud.
Okay. That's like a whole nother conversation in itself. I'm going to write that down for, maybe next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should get into that.
It's juicy. I really feel like that's a juicy topic these days.
Yeah. And it's needed too, because a lot of people are under this false pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I could talk a lot about that, and, how much we charge as entrepreneurs and how much we get paid, and sort of how we undervalue, women dominated fields.
Yes.
So, and if we want to get paid more, we have to be willing to ask for more and create that reality for ourselves. Anyway,
all the time.
Don't get me going.
I want to get you going. I want to get you going. So, okay. But this is the thing I think people want to hear about, because I put it in our title.
Yes.
Approval addiction.
Yes.
So I know you have a great inventory that you can talk about and all this, but tell us what approval addiction is. Because I think when I first read your blog some years ago and I heard that term together, like approval and addiction, I was like, ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, am I being called out and called in? I am.
Right. I mean, it's a loaded word. It's a loaded word. Well, I have, I have a good deal of addiction in my family. I have a lot of experience with, I'm a child of Alcoholics Anonymous. But, I'm also, so that I am intentional about using this term addiction, and really addiction, when you think about it, whether it's alcohol, sex, shopping, smoking, Netflix, whatever. It's just, doing, the same thing over and over again, despite negative consequences. And so that's what I think about with addiction. I mean, when I use the term addiction and approval is, are you perpetually seeking out validation from outside of yourself, from other people? And on the other side of the coin, are you terrified? Are you so terrified of judgment, criticism, or blame that you're sort of obsessively protecting yourself from that.
Mm-hmm. So the approval part, it's greater than you trusting yourself. It's greater than you even like betting on yourself. Is that what you're saying? Like we just get so caught up in that?
You get so caught up in whatever the behavior is, to seek external validation and avoid external rejection, right? That you get caught in these patterns of behavior. And that's where this assessment, this inventory that you mentioned comes into play, because it really manifests differently, depending on the person, right? And it's actually quite normal, right, for us as social creatures,
Yeah.
living in society, to be focused on what other people are thinking, right? But it becomes a problem when it starts to impact your choices, impact the people that you decide to your social circle, the job that you have, all of the choices that create your life, right? You can literally, and this is true for me, and this is my experience exactly, is that, I spent so many years working so hard to create this shiny and sparkly facade, right? Like I had the car, I had the guy, I had the house, I had the job, but inside I had this dirty secret that I was miserable. And not only that, right? First world problems. I was ashamed of myself. What is wrong with me for being so miserable? But what I didn't realize until I started to become a coach and start to do the work is, all of this misery was really because I was focused on getting other people to say, there goes Ammy Pearson. How did she solve the hunger problem and stay so thin? It's like I wanted I wanted to feel important. I really wanted to feel important. And I thought the way to feel important was that other people would say nice things to me. Other people would include me. Other people would admire me. That was really my whole mission and purpose in life. And so I finally realized that I had created a whole life that didn't even fit me. And so for me, I would say my approval seeking personality type is what I call a performer. That's how it manifests for me. I'm not, there are helpers who, we think a lot when we talk about getting, seeking approval as sort of that kind of doormat, the person who bends over backwards and can't say no and is always helping. And that's one approval seeking personality type. But the way it manifested for me is just, can I be the smartest person in the room? Can I make everybody laugh? Can I just entertain everybody and get a lot of gold stars? That's how it manifested for me. But I've created this assessment because it's different for everybody. I've got performers, I've got chameleons, I've got haters, I've got, what is it? Hero worshipers. I don't know if I said that one. So there's different personality types.
Yeah. I took it and I wish I wasn't thinking, and I'll put it in the comments after this what mine was and what it revealed to me.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when I say revealed, like it was like a reveal, it was like, okay, girl, so when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, this is it. This is what you have to remind yourself of. And I journal about it, but I'm sorry, I just cannot remember which one it was. I want to tell the right one. But I'll put it in the comments and we can continue the discussion after.
Well, just knowing what I know about you, probably perfectionist might have been one, or because you said you were, and didn't you say you were a recovering perfectionist?
No, a recovering overachiever.
Overachiever. So you and I are probably, that's me too. Well, I'm still, so it's interesting because I did take the Strength Finder recently.
Okay.
And I am an achiever. Like that's on my top 5. So, there's pros and cons, and that's true for these, personality types as well, right? Yeah. Everything has a shadow and a light. There are good things and there are bad things. But so you're probably a performer like me.
Yeah, I think it was, honestly, it wasn't perfectionist, but I think it was the performer, because I was like, oh, I think that's the one I had too. Yeah. And I feel like the more graceful reveal for me in like reading through the assessment and looking at your teachings and stuff like that is just not to hold myself to this unrealistic standard and just do what I want to do anyway.
Yeah.
And it's such a freeing concept. So it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've been operating like this for so long. It was like, oh, there's a weight lifted. There's a new, the light and shadow. Here's more light on this now.
Yeah.
And, it just was more permission to just do the things the way I do it. And I know you and I have talked about this before, just like, the coaching world. I think coaching is very important, coaching consultant, whatever you want to call it, but it's a very noisy profession, and it's easy to get caught up in a little lost in different things. And I have been fortunate on one side to not get so caught up, but not as fortunate on the side to be like, well, why aren't you getting caught up? You should be doing this. You should be performing at that level. And so, really, really understanding my own goals, my own motivation and purpose has been so freeing. And then when you get this additional data specifically around approval addiction, it just frees it up for you to be able to call yourself out when you might be playing too small, too fearful to take a risk, or just thinking like, who am I? Who am I to do this? So I think people, it's a safe space to take an assessment like that. I think it's well done. It's very easy to go through, because sometimes assessment, you're like, what the hell are these questions? Right? And I didn't feel that way. I was just like, and plus I do love to take inventories and quizzes. So I'm just going to say I'm that person. Oh, what kind of latte are you? Yeah, I'll take that quiz too.
I love it too.
So, I like that. That is my personality. But I just really felt that it was a nurturing way to self-assess and then get the information right away with some call to actions. You weren't just like, here's the information, deal with it. Thank you. Because, some of us need to see our way out of it, and we need more support and help with that. And I was very impressed with that.
Thank you.
So with approval and failure, we touched on this, but I really want you to tell us about the Failure Summit. I was super excited to participate in it. I loved, even when our mutual friend introduced us, and I was like, she has something called the Failure Summit. Yes, that has my name written all over it. I'm all about talking about my own fails, nowadays when people just say, oh, it's so good. I'm like, let me tell you, how much time do you have? Let me tell you how that sucked, how this went where, straps breaking. Like, it happens. And look, still breathing, still living, still on Instagram Live. So tell us about, the Failure Summit, and then do you see, strong connections, with the approval addiction failure and us not talking about it? Like, tell us all the things.
Well, so I had the inspiration to do the Failure Summit several months ago. Gosh, it's been 6 months probably now. But it was after I had my business had pretty much imploded. I was completely burnt out, and I had taken a year off, and then I was inspired to get back into it and just see if I could create momentum in a way that really felt more of a reflection of who I was. And so I decided to start to re-engage my list, and I decided I was going to offer a course. And so I did kind of a mini launch, and it was crickets. It was like, it was so bad. It's like I was, and I had just come off of just being, having been a multiple six-figure entrepreneur. I had a really busy, thriving practice. I was getting lots of response, and so my ego, had taken this blow, and I was like, shit. And so I decided I would just kind of start talking about how it was a failure, and start reaching out and sharing with people, that about this failure to my list. And that's when I started to get a lot of I started to get a lot of response. People were really resonating with me, just sharing openly about how this was going and how it was failing, and quote unquote failing. Right. But so then I had this inspiration, because I have this frustration, right? And this is especially true for us now in the social media day and age, where we get to see all these people and hear them and watch them. And it's so easy for us to compare ourselves to others. And, there are a lot of successful people, and there are a lot of people in the sort of personal growth space who talk about how important it is to let yourself fail and to fail faster, and, fail better and fail forward and all of that kind of stuff. And I was like, but wait a minute, like, I'm not hearing any of these individuals talking openly about their major epic fails, right? I'm not hearing any of that. And so I was like, well, what if I, go ahead and just contact people who have had, what am I like, traditionally conventional sort of markers of success, and see if they'll be willing to share their own failures. And I really wanted to know if these failures contributed in any way to their success. So I was curious about that. And I also just wanted to get the conversation out in the open and just kind of drop the shame around failure. And so that was the idea behind it. And thank you for being a part of it.
Oh, yeah. It was so great. One thing I have to say, this is what bonded us for me, was Amy and I were on this interview. We were crushing it. Like, we were like telling all the secrets.
I know what you're going to say.
Being real, bearing our souls. I mean, I think it was like 30 something minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we wrap it up, and y'all, we forgot to record it.
We did not forget to record it. I forgot to record it.
Well, I could have helped. I mean, I could see the red button too.
You're
and
so
then
sweet.
We had to do it again.
Well, you were so nice about it. I was like, oh my God, I love her. You were so nice about it. Like, we had to record the whole thing again. Like, it was, anyway.
I just thought that was like a real time, like, fail. And we were both like, okay, let's go again.
Let's do it. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that was actually fun. I got to talk to Kanesha a little bit longer, but yeah. And it was funny. That was ironic too, because you were my first interview for the Failure Summit. And I failed.
and the Epic Failure Summit was amazing. Like, I just feel like the grace part, I mean, I understand, like, sometimes people couldn't have time. Like, you and I, the big discussion is, like, do you have the time right now? We have kids, we have lives.
Yeah.
And, those are real things negotiable. But I thought it was just like, shit happens. Let's go again.
Yeah. Yeah, we just rolled with it, I guess. And, and I did a backstage pass. And in the backstage pass, I recorded myself talking about that. Like, I just did a video of me kind of right after our interview going, oh my gosh, this is a Failure Summit and I just failed. And Kanesha was so nice. You couldn't have been nicer about it, but that happened, so.
Well, but I just think it's really important to talk about that, because somebody was asking me about this interview series and just was like, how do you get your guests and what happens? And, one of the failings that happens, realistically in this is that people sign up to do it and then they don't show up or they don't complete whatever.
Yeah.
And, that could be like, oh my God, this is so tough. Like, it's a failure because I didn't get them. I'm just like, it might not be a good time, or maybe it wasn't the right format, and just keep moving on, but don't make it mean more than it really is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just say, okay, not the right time, not angry, not mad, not getting these emotions that distract me.
Yeah.
It's freedom to move on. And I think the conversation around it was just like, it's not so much what didn't work.
Yeah. What
parts worked, and then what am I learning from what just didn't happen is all.
Yeah. And if you're someone who is focused externally, right, and you're really feeling like you need that validation, then of course, right, you're not gonna want to fail. You're not gonna want others to see you fail. And it's interesting because when we talk about approval addiction, we think it's about other people and sort of our, being focused outside of ourselves. But the reality is that we want the approval and we want to avoid the rejection because we have it inside of ourselves. We're not approving of ourselves. Yeah. So when we get the approval, it's like, oh, there's a little bone someone threw at me to help me to feel better about myself. And then if we get some kind of rejection or criticism, or if we fail at something, right, then that's more evidence for that part of our brain that is already believing that deep down that we could never do it, or we were never cut out for it, or we're not good enough, right? And so that's really what is happening. And that's the dynamic. And that's why we're afraid to fail, is because we don't want to be, we don't want to face that part of ourselves, right? That deep down just carries shame, you know, for whatever reason. And for me personally, you know, I've been working on a memoir, and the process of working on this memoir, I've been giving myself permission to revisit a lot of childhood trauma, honestly. And the process of that has been so healing. And one thing that I learned about myself is that, you know, as a kid, there was a lot of alcoholism and a lot of, you know, just violence and just some, you know, crazy stuff. And I, as a little empath, highly sensitive being, you know, you know, I was just kind of there in the eye of the storm. And I never really felt very significant, really. I was just kind of just stay quiet, right? It's just don't cause any more problems. Don't create any more chaos. And you know, so my as an adult, I really spent so much of my life seeking out opportunities to feel important, to seek out opportunities to feel significant, because there was a part of me that didn't get that need met as a kid. And that's why, you know, that's why I had this behavioral pattern of, you know, trying to achieve gold stars and, you know, chase achievement. And really it was a moving target, because it was like, what would make me look the smartest? Well, I know I could speak a foreign language. So I went and learned Japanese, right? What would make people think that I was, you know, really, really great? Well, I'll go get a master's degree. I didn't want to do any of that. I mean, I like to learn languages, but, you know, I would probably not have spent all these years like getting, you know, and money and time on higher education and, you know, learning, because, you know, that was just ways that I thought I could feel important. But you know, it's like this little hit. And that's why I like to also think of it as a drug. It's like, feels good for a minute, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, now wait a minute. How do I go back out and get myself another hit of that?
It's so true. I mean, I can totally relate to that constant target moving on the achievement side as a, you know, recovering overachiever. It's just like, okay, that's great. No time to celebrate it. On to the next. Got to get to the next one, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's exhausting. Don't do that. Don't do that. You know, I had to unlearn a lot of aspects around that. So, okay. So we were talking a little bit about comparison traps. I'm jumping around. So, you know, social media, we're out. Most of us are still staying close to home, so a little bit stuck in the house.
Yeah.
And social media, at least from my lens, seems very noisy right now. And, you know, I hear people talking about this, clients, just friends falling into these comparison traps. Right now, the current comparison trap I'm hearing is how people have been able to set up learning pods or the...
Don't even mention the word pod to me.
Okay. I don't want to hear about pod. And they've been talking about people posting pictures of their learning spaces for their families and kids, like how that looks and stuff like that, like literally setting up classrooms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking if you're able to do that, but everybody's under so much pressure, right?
Yeah.
And then you're seeing all this on social media. People are falling into these comparison traps. So, you know, how can we like see our way out of that? Or if we know about our approval addiction, like how can that help us step away, step back, reassess?
Yeah. I have two things to say about that. You know, it's interesting when you say that, because, you know, with the 3 kids, I'm getting parents approaching me about pods from 3 different directions. And, you know, they're asking if I can take a day, right, to, you know, teach. And I'm like, I really can't. But, you know, this part of me is like, I really should, right? Like, I got to be that person. I got to show up in that way for my kids. And I got to do this for my, you know, and it's, you know, it's madness making at times. But what social media does, right, is it feeds our need to, you know, to compare ourselves to others. It's really like there's this prototype, right? We, in our minds, right, we create it, and social media sort of feeds it, right? The prototypical beautiful woman, right? The prototypical successful entrepreneur, the prototypical good mom, right? And then we create these prototypes in our minds, you know, and it's different for everyone, but right, representation information, it all, sorry, I'm going to plug my phone in.
Okay.
So, you know, all of those things kind of feed this, our brain, which wants to take shortcuts, right? It wants to be efficient. It feeds our brain into thinking that this is the right way to show up in the world. And then, you know, we get on IG, we get on Facebook, you know, we see things, our brain's like, okay, you know, it's a pattern seeking mechanism. So it's like, yes, that is what's good. That is what's right. And of course, we don't measure up to that because we're human beings, right? And so we start to develop this complex, right? This inferiority complex. But what's really true is that, you know, what the difference that we possess is actually our greatest attribute, right? That is the opportunity, right? That is where we can contribute to the dialogue in a different way. We can contribute solutions. We can problem solve. We can change the status quo. We can change conventions. And so I get really passionate about that. You know, it's like where we are different is actually the opportunity. So there's that. But the other thing, if I don't know, I get a lot of people saying this one idea has really changed their life. So I just want to throw it in. Is that okay, Kanesha?
Yes, please.
I
want to hear it. Now I'm all curious.
Okay, now I build it up. So now the pressure's on. So one thing that has really helped me when I'm thinking about other people is to take the entire known universe and divide it into thirds. My mom used to tell me as a kid that no matter what I do, not everyone's going to like me. And that was kind of, in a weird way, it was bad news, but it was also kind of comforting, as the truth usually is. So anyway, now as an adult, if you take the entire universe and you divide it into thirds, there's always going to be 1/3 that no matter what, like no matter how hard you try to fit that prototype and be everything that you can be, they're just going to hate on you. You know, it's like, they're not going to want it. They're not going to be interested. They could, you know, they're the ones that unsubscribe and send you those notes about, I don't know, this and that. Then there are those, and this is the biggest problem area for me, or there are the neutrals. And the neutrals are the ones who are just like, I could take it or leave it. You know, I'm not, you know, they don't ask, they don't, you know, it's like, they could care less really. And ironically, you know, a lot of my family members are neutrals. Like, and for the longest time, I was always so annoyed. It's like, why don't they want to know this part about me? Why aren't they interested? Why aren't they asking about this? It was like, I was so frustrated. And I really wanted them to be interested in my work. Neutrals. Now there's this other part, there's this other third, and these are your people, right? These are your people. And these are the ones who it's like, the more out there you can be with your truth, taking, you know, like just speaking it out, taking action, putting stuff out there, the more they want to hear from you. It's like they've been waiting, right? And they just, like, there's lots of people out there, but they, for whatever reason, they just need to hear it from you. But the big problem is that so many of us, right, we spend our entire lives trying to win over the haters and trying to win over the neutrals, that we become invisible to the people who we are meant to serve, right? Who we are meant to be, like, this is our true belonging right there. And so many of us are missing out on it. This primal human need, we are missing out on it because we're bending over backwards, shape-shifting to fit with, you know, fit this person that we think the haters will approve of or the neutrals will finally start asking about. So when I think about, you know, that comparison trap, I think about those two pieces.
That's so powerful, Amy. Like, you know, I think about this one time someone unsubscribed from my newsletter and sent me a note about it. They said they didn't like my hair on the picture. So I didn't subscribe. And I just remember going, what is missing in their life that they had to put that comment? What's that about? And then as I wrote that down, I go, and why are you writing about this? I was like, move on. Like, you know, I got my robust community, people who love, you know, what I'm providing for them and showing them. I know.
Yeah.
Talia's like, what? I know. And it's just kind of like, even something I always tell my daughter, especially as an artist, and
Yeah.
your art is personal, right? It's your
Yeah.
expression, but you put it out there and people got shit to say. And I always tell her, I said, but you always got to go back to what moved you in that direction and just stay in that space.
Yeah.
And just stay in that space.
Yep.
Yeah. Because it's not okay to not create the way you create.
Yeah.
It's not okay to shut that off. It's not okay to shut that down. And it's not okay to compare it to what other people are doing. Let them do them. You do you. And I know people say that all the time, and it's really, really hard. And, there's all this show and tell on social media. I mean, when my clients come to me about one thing, sometimes it's like, are you on social media a lot? Let's take that burden off you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And get you out of that space, because it's not a great cycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a lot easier to tear down, right, as they say, than to build and create.
Oh, I'm looking at my watch. I'm looking at questions. I got so many things. IG will kick you off. So I want to get to the good.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah, it does. So yeah,
what, like after an hour? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they'll give you a little countdown and be like, get off of here.
Oh wow.
Okay. So the pandemic, what we're experiencing right now, social injustice, all this stuff. It's caused a lot of creatives, specifically entrepreneurs, to adjust and pivot. So what do you think right now are one or two things that entrepreneurs can do to continue to thrive without moving toward burnout?
It's interesting because we, as entrepreneurs, we really have had to, I love that about the eagle. Can keep it soaring. Yeah, we've had to
keep talking. My son had just keep talking. I just got to check one thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, I mean, we've really had a lot thrown at us. This year has been no joke. And I think we, as entrepreneurs, whether or not, things are crazy in the world, that's kind of what's required of us, right? Like I was just looking up the definition of entrepreneurship, or the definition of entrepreneur, and it's like the person who assumes risk for a business venture, right? So there are always going to be risks when you're an entrepreneur, and there's always going to be shit being thrown at you. This year was just like that times 1,000, right? And a lot of times we think it's the tactics, right? We got to figure out the right way to pivot. We got to figure out the exact right offer, now that COVID is happening. And I do agree that the tactics matter, right? But underneath the tactics is this willingness, right, to take risk, to assume that risk, to be in the mindset that requires you to keep going when you're dealing with setbacks and multiple curveballs. And so, one of the ways that I think about it, I don't know if I'm sure you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, right? And on the top is self-actualization. But then on the bottom of the triangle, right, is stuff like getting enough water to drink. I've been watching this show called Alone. And it's like they throw these people in, like these wilderness experts, into, these really, like one was in the Arctic, and they have to survive with like 10 things, and they have to figure out how to anyway. So, I mean, we have to get our basic needs met before we can start to even think about what it looks like to be self-actualized. Well, when I think about being an entrepreneur, the top of that is like being able to find your people who want to pay you great money to do your work in the world. Like that's what I consider as like, that's the top of the triangle, right? But underneath that, right, we have to be willing to address what's going on here before we even think about what's the right frequency to send that newsletter out, or, when do I need to do a live event, right? It's really, are we taking care of ourselves in a way that allows us to have the resilience and the willingness, to persevere when we're faced with the inevitable roadblocks, whether, that's racial injustice or COVID, there's always going to be something, and not to minimize what's been going on.
Right.
because this is real and this is big and this is no joke. But you know, as an entrepreneur, that's going to be our reality on whatever scale. So I really feel like, you know, yeah, the tactics matter, but underneath those tactics is a willingness to keep going, a willingness to be creative, a willingness to problem solve, a willingness to get the right kind of support. And so that's really what I think matters.
I agree with all of that. And sorry, you guys had to run out. My son was like quietly knocking on the door. He wanted to use the oven. So I was like, what is it?
Mine just came in asking for a popsicle. So,
So I'm so sorry because he wouldn't come in, but he was like, he kept knocking. I was like, what is it? Anywho, so everything's fine over here. But, you know, mom life, entrepreneurship,
yes,
so funny.
exactly.
I want to say about the thriving part, I loved everything you said. And I just want to amplify the part of a lot of people were trying to do something new, different, kind of pivot in 2020. And then all of a sudden, the huge pivot of 2020 was thrust upon us. And I always say, it's okay to postpone some of those things, but you can still build them out at a different rate. Not like all a wash. I mean, unless you decide like, you know, it's just a bad timing, that's a different thing. But I just don't feel like you have to stop thriving. And when people hear the word thrive, they think like this big grand thing. I'm like, showing up for yourself, taking good care of yourself, having your smoothie bowl, you know, thriving. And, you know, even though this is not ideal, the situations, there is room to still thrive and create. But you set the pace, you set the tone, and you approve of it.
Yeah.
And just stay in that space. Like, that is the best space right now for, I mean, that's the space where I'm living in right now.
Well, and you know, I'm on Monday, I'm going to be launching a challenge. I'm calling it the Dream Big Challenge.
Yeah.
And
tell us all about the details of that. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, so it's my first ever challenge that I've done, but I've always been wanting to try a challenge. And so it's kicking off on Monday. And maybe we can post a link. I don't even remember, damn it, what the link is.
Okay, we'll put it in the comments afterwards.
Yeah.
We'll put it all there.
But the reason that I wanted to do it specifically around dreaming big is that, especially for women, right? And, you know, especially for Black women, it's like we have these fences inside our minds where so many people, you know, want to tell us what we can dream about, you know, want to tell us what we're capable of, want to tell us what our limitations are, right? And I think, you know, that becomes internalized. And I know for me, you know, it's like the other day, my brother, he was here visiting, and he was talking about the house. We had just rehabbed the house. And I was like, I still want to get some new windows on the greenhouse. He's like, oh, you don't need new windows. You know how much that costs? Like, that's not, I'm like, first of all, I'm a grown ass woman. You know, I don't need you to tell me what, you know, I get to want, right? And whether that's okay with you in a house you don't live in. But I think that's normalized, right? Like, I think that people think they can do that. And I think and a lot of us believe that shit. And so what that does is it creates these artificial fences in our minds. And what I want to do in Dream Big is really challenge all of us to start breaking down those fences, because we are capable of so much more, whether it's COVID, whether there's racial injustice right now in the world. It's like, whether we have, you know, 3 kids who want a popsicle and want the oven turned on right this minute, you know, it's like we are capable of so much more, I think, than we even know. And so I just want to create a space where people can play with that and start to embrace, you know, just stepping into our own power.
I love that. What a gift, Amy. That's going to be a gift to so many people. And I think also the adult world, like some of us get to a certain age and we think it's too late to dream big. You know,
we're too old.
We're way too old. You know, we should know better. And no, we should not know better.
Or we're not at the right weight. You know, we're too fat, or, you know, just so many things that we've set as boundaries in our mind.
Oh, I love that. I'm so excited. I'll check that out too. So I wrote it down. We'll put the link in the comments.
Yay!
And then, okay. So we've had some serious things. Oh, yay. So I want to know, you were working on your memoir, and I don't think I really realized that. So when your memoir is turned into a biopic film,
Right.
or a series, either way, which actor would you like to play Amy?
It's funny. I thought about this because you sent me this one, and I was like, who would it be? And I think it would be Toni Collette.
I love her. She does the American accent very well.
Yeah, she does it. She's so good. Like, I just recently showed my daughter, my older daughter, what's that movie, M. Night Shyamalan, the one.
Yes, Sixth Sense.
I See
Love
Dead
that
People.
one.
Right. And she's so good in that. And I've seen
So
her in
good
so
in
many
that.
things, and I just love her. And I don't know a ton about her, but I really like her acting and how she shows up. And so anyway, I'm thinking Toni Collette all the way.
I love it. Did you ever watch, I think it was a Showtime series, The United States of Tara?
Yes.
That starred her so good. That's when I fell in love.
Yeah. I love her.
That would be great. That would be great. And so, okay. So we're going to put the information about the Dream Big Challenge. And then I definitely think we should make sure that people know how to find the inventory for the
Right.
edition.
Yeah.
So what channels, how can people connect with you and stay connected with you? Like, how can we find you?
Well, so the if you want to find out your approval seeking personality type, it's approvalquiz.com. That's an easy one. So I can tell you that one right now.
Approvalquiz.com. Okay.
Approvalquiz.com. And then I think on IG, I'm being Amy the blog. There I am.
Yes.
So you can follow me there. And then I'm on Facebook. And then my website is beingamytheblog.com. So, I blog about just real life reality stuff. So a lot of that stuff. Oh, thank you.
Guys, I spelled approval wrong. That's my bad. I was trying to do too many things at once. So that's just spell approval correctly.
Yes.
And good to go. I'm sorry.
Love it. I love it.
This is so great to have you on. You did great for your first IG
Yay.
Live. I hope to see more of you on IG Live, but I'll still be checking you out on Facebook.
I'm going to try this myself, for sure.
Yeah. For sure.
Oh, her role in Men in Black, I do not know. I'm not familiar with that one, so I'll have to check her out on that. Someone was saying.
I don't remember being Men in Black either.
Yeah.
The original one?
We'll have to look into that.
We'll be on her IMDb page, BD.
Yeah.
Page. Thank you so much, and I just appreciate you and all the work you're doing.
Likewise.
Thank you, and I just hope that people will connect with you and just really, I don't know, venture into a different level of self-discovery for themselves, so that they can, get this pressure that doesn't need to be there off them.
Yes.
Just that simple. Like, that's just a call to action, y'all. If nothing else, take that approvalquiz.com. And there it is. 1 minute 56 seconds remaining. It's like, we're on notice. I knew it. I knew it was coming. But thank you again, and everybody, thank you for joining into Approval Club, Wednesday Club. The Wednesday Club will be back next week. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember. But I'll post information, and then this also will be saved in IGTV. So if you weren't able to stay on the whole time, you can come back, you can get your journal, take all the notes, and do the call to actions that Amy and I have for you.
It was so fun to connect with you and your community. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And just thank you, Kanesha, for this conversation. I loved it. And I hope we get to do more in the future.
Okay. Thank you. Everybody have a good day. I'm going to go see what's in the oven.
Turn that oven off. Okay.
Okay. Bye, Amy.
Bye.